generally speaking, it was around the opportunity. And as our introducer this morning said, 4 of the biggest 5 economies globally in the next decade will be in Asia, right? So that's China, Japan, India, Indonesia, right? So there's a huge economic opportunity. It's not always an easy opportunity. It's not always a transparent opportunity. And so the question is then, how do you go about seizing that opportunity, particularly in an era of where everything, as we say, has become political, right? And that's not unique to Asia. In fact, you could argue that in some ways Asia is less political than some other markets, right? But certainly we've seen it play out in this space, and particularly in that what we would call the populist space, political space. And actually, in the modern era, it started, and I didn't do this morning, but I usually give the audience a kind of a question, which is, who started the modern era of populism? So not going back to the 1930s, but since the 1990s, early 2000s, who started it? And it's relevant to this region because the answer is Mr. Thaksin in Thailand. He was the one that started it. Before Turkey, long before President Trump, before it happened in parts of Europe. He was the one that first brought that message to Thailand, particularly north and northeastern Thailand, which is where he's from, and said, all of the resources go to this one very small group of people in the south. That's not fair. And if you vote for me, I will bring you the benefits, and I will bring you into this success story, right? That is Thailand. And he's won he or his parties have won every election since that election around 2000, 2001. Arguably, they probably won the most seats in the election that they just had about a week ago. So that message is very popular, and it's still very, very strong in a place like Thailand. But you've seen that replicated in other countries in different ways because every situation is different. But you've seen it replicated in India, you've seen it replicated in Korea, you've seen it replicated in Indonesia. So it's something that companies have to deal with increasingly, is this politicized environment, if you will, which for a long time really wasn't the case. You had to deal with regulation, yes, and you had to deal with different types of consumer behavior and all that kind of stuff. But you didn't really have to deal with this kind of political messaging or environment, right? And so knowing how to navigate that is absolutely critical for success, right? And there's different ways you can navigate it. You can play to it, as I like to say. You can also play against it, which is another way. But you do have to be aware of it and be able to navigate it, because if not, then you won't be successful at the end of the day, sustainably successful. So in a nutshell, and then kind of how do you get there? How do you get to success? What does that look like, right? Better understanding, good governance, being resilient, right? All of those things.